In the headlines of this hour on VTV News, Party General Secretary's passings grabs international headlines. And high-quality investment continues to flow into Vietnam. In our world news, U.S. President Joe Biden drops out of presidential race.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in to VTV News. I'm Nguyen with the top stories. The passing of Party General Secretary Nguyen Trong is a great loss to the party, state, army, and people of Vietnam. He devoted his life to promoting the spirit and responsibility of the party to be truly pure and strong, for the country to become increasingly prosperous and developed, and for the people to be happy. In the face of increasingly sophisticated temptations for material possessions, every word and action of the Party General Secretary will guide party members and officials, keeping them away from these temptations.
Party General Secretary Nguyen Trong always reminded party members and officials to maintain their dignity, morality, and honor. As a party member, if you do not set an example, you may seriously affect people's trust in the party.
It is necessary to further promote a sense of responsibility and to set a model for an ethical lifestyle at work and in life, as all officials, family members and relatives must also be responsible to the public. Officials and party members must try their best to avoid wrongdoings.
The humility and simplicity of the party leader have been deeply imprinted in the thoughts of those who worked with him.
Officials and party members must never show. When he served at the Hanoi Party Committee, he told me to get rid of useless welcoming slogans. He came to work, not to be welcomed by slogans. He used the same suits for years. He was driven to work in an old car. He never changed those things. Then, when it was his birthday, he'd tell people not to come to his office to wish him happy birthday. He lived a simple life for the country and the people until his very last moment.
Not only has he lived as a shining example for the people, his entire family also lives up to his reputation. Party's regulations, especially Regulation 144, clearly state that party members must not let family members and relatives take advantage of your reputation for personal gains. This is the most difficult thing, but the Party General Secretary set an example.
Party General Secretary Nguyen Trong served 7 terms as a member of the party's Central Committee and 6 terms as a member of the Politburo. He was the party's theoretical flagship. He was the spearhead in the fight against corruption, and he was also a role model in studying and following President Ho Chi Minh's ethics and style.
He was an exemplary comrade in all fields. When people met him, they felt the closeness and they were excited. He was an example for people to look up to.
Major news agencies around the world widely covered Vietnamese Party General Secretary Nguyen Chong's passing, highly appreciating his role and contribution to Vietnam's development and international standing. More on this in the following.
Lao news agency in English KPL posted a black and white portrait of Party General Secretary Nguyen Chong prominently on his homepage, along with the condolences of leaders of the Lao Party, state and people of all Lao ethnic groups. The Lao National News Agency described Party General Secretary Nguyen Chong as a revolutionary leader who significantly contributed to strengthening and cultivating the great friendship, special solidarity, and comprehensive cooperation between the two parties, countries, and peoples.
Comrade Party General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong brought invaluable feelings and lessons to me, as well as to the party and state of Laos. He provided profound and accurate guidance for running the country in a world full of complex problems. He and other Vietnamese leaders have led the Vietnamese Communist Party, helping Vietnam overcome obstacles and gain strategic friends. He led the Vietnamese Revolution steadily into a new phase, improving people's lives and fostering continuous development for the country.
News agency AP quoted the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, who affirmed that under the leadership of Party General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trọng, Vietnam has continued its incredible development journey to become one of the fastest growing economies in the world and an important partner of the United Nations. In its latest story, AFP News affirmed that the anti-corruption campaign launched by Party General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trọng has contributed to boosting the economy. The results can be clearly seen in the economic growth rate in recent years. Vietnam has also become an important part of the supply chains of the world's most important businesses over the past decade. In addition, AFP wrote that under his leadership, Vietnam strengthened its relations with many countries and partners. Reuters news agency highlighted the leadership role of Party General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trọng over the past decade, during which Vietnam achieved a rapid economic growth and enhanced relations with both China and the U.S. through its bamboo diplomacy policy. Nikkei News of Japan commented that, in the context of a divided world, the balanced foreign policy of Party General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trọng has helped Vietnam maintain good relationships with other countries and become the only country to welcome the President of China, the U.S. President, and the President of Russia to its home.
The President's office held a press conference on Monday morning to announce the state president's order to promulgate 6 laws passed by the National Assembly at its 7th session. These laws are the law on archives, the law on the organization of the people's courts, the law on national defense security industry and industrial mobilization, the law on road traffic order and safety, the law amending and supplementing certain provisions of the law on security guard force, and the law on the management and use of weapons, explosive precursors, and support tools. To implement the law on road traffic order and safety, which takes effect on January 1st next year, the government needs to issue 8 decrees. The Prime Minister needs to issue 1 decision, and various ministries need to issue 36 circulars detailing the regulations. Notably, a regulation on transporting children under 10 years old will take effect on January 1st, 2026. Trading activities at Lạng Sơn province's border gates are stable, with 1,200 to 1,300 trucks clearing customs daily. The main export items include dragon fruit, mango, jackfruit, and durian. At this time, almost all trucks carrying agricultural products and fruits to these border gates are cleared for export within the day. The management board of the Đồng Đăng Lạng Sơn border gate economic zone agreed to extend working hours by 2 hours from 6 to 8 p.m. Hanoi time from July 19th to 21st. This is aimed at improving clearance efficiency, facilitating the return of empty Vietnamese trucks, and clearing the backlog of Chinese export trucks waiting to import at the Chinese Hữu Nghị Quan border gate. As a result, the backlog at Hữu Nghị Quan border gate had been mostly cleared by Monday morning. In addition, the Lạng Sơn Provincial People's Committee recently issued document number 387, which specifies that from August 1st, 2024, transport vehicles clearing goods through specialized routes at the Hữu Nghị Quan International Border Gate must comply with bilateral agreements, international practices, and Vietnam's domestic regulations. As of July 15th, the country's total export-import value has surpassed $400 billion, up over 16% compared to the same period last year, according to statistics from the General Department of Customs. Among this, the total export value is estimated to have reached over $207 billion, a rise of more than 15% compared to the same period last year. In the first half of July alone, 4 export groups surpassed the $1 billion mark, including computers, electronic products and components, telephones and components, machinery, equipment, tools and spare parts, and textiles and garments. On the import side, there was also an increase of nearly 18%. Vietnamese enterprises mainly imported raw materials for production. According to the Ministry of Planning and Investment, the total registered foreign direct investment capital in the first 6 months of this year reached nearly $15.2 billion, an increase of over 13% compared to the same period last year. Newly registered FDI capital was over $9.5 billion, an increase of nearly 47%. Not only is the capital source abundant, but the quality of investment capital in Vietnam has also increased sharply, thanks to a careful selection.
These are 2 luxury hotels and apartment buildings that this group has invested in Hai Phong City over the past 7 years, with a total value of $80 million. This year, the Japanese investor is launching 2 more luxury buildings with a total capital of $110 million and stated that it will continue to invest in Vietnam.
We continue to invest because the business results of the projects we invest in are very positive. Next year, we plan to invest $100 million to build another building.
In the first 6 months of this year, realized FDI capital was estimated at $10.84 billion, the highest recorded for the same period in the past 5 years. Notably, high-quality capital flows show an increasingly clear trend, not only in high-end real estate, but also in semiconductors, electronics, and energy. This is thanks to localities proactively building a favorable infrastructure to attract investors and having clear investment capital screening plans.
Hai Phong has attracted many investors in the top 500 leading enterprises in the world: high-tech industry, green industry, and renewable energy. The basic projects are going in the right direction.
According to Standard Chartered, Vietnam is among the leading growth rate in 2024 with an increase of over 6%, while countries in the Asian regions are around 5%. Vietnam's attractions of foreign direct investment is impressive.
Vietnam remains at the top of the league of growth in the world. I think that this is something to be happy about, but never be complacent, because growth is something that is like a plan.
Investor confidence is very positive, so the Ministry of Planning and Investment expects FDI attraction for the whole year of 2024 to reach $39 to $40 billion, higher than in 2023.
Now, despite record low interest rates in the first 6 months of the year, deposit in the banking system still increased by 1.5% compared to the end of 2023. It is forecast that deposits will continue to rise sharply in the last months of the year as banks gradually increase interest rates to attract capital from the public.
In the midst of fluctuations in investment channels like gold, stocks, and real estate, Du decided to choose saving as the safest and most attractive options for her idle money.
About 6 months ago, the savings interest rate decreased, but recently it has been quite good, so I chose to save to ensure the safety of my cash flow compared to other investment channels such as investing in stocks or buying gold.
With the rapid development of technology, online saving channels have become a popular choice, especially among young people. Besides convenience, the interest rates are also more attractive, ranging from 0.05% to 0.3% higher than at the counter. Currently, the highest interest rate for online savings is 6.5% per year.
My personal suggestion is that we choose the 6-month term and the 18-month term. These are 2 terms with very good interest rates and are also very flexible. If we choose the form of online deposit, the interest rate is higher than the interest rate at the counter.
The significant increase in cash flow from the public will create opportunities to boost lending activities for production and business at the end of the year.
Banks can mobilize capital at very low costs. Consequently, they can provide loans with low interest rates, benefiting the economy. This is also a good opportunity for businesses in need of capital. Businesses should take advantage of this to restructure and grow as quickly as possible.
According to economic experts, the increase in saving deposit will stimulate economic growth. This will allow banks to reduce interest rates on deposit in line with the state bank's direction to continue lowering loans interest rate, supporting businesses and people.
Now, before we move on to other important updates, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rates of today, July 22nd. Coming up next on VTV News. Hà Giang supports resident relocation from dangerous areas. And veterans wholeheartedly support dioxin victims. Typhoon number 2 entered the Gulf of Tonkin at noon on Monday, intensifying to levels 9 to 10 with gusts up to level 12. It is expected to move northwest at a speed of 10 kilometers per hour, further intensifying to level 10 with gusts up to level 12. The typhoon is likely to hit the coastal areas of Quảng Ninh, Haiphong on Tuesday and weaken into a tropical depression. The danger zone for the next 24 hours is from 18.5 degrees north latitude to 22 degrees north latitude and from 106.5 degrees east longitude to 111 degrees east longitude. The Quảng Ninh Inland Waterway Port Authority has temporarily prohibited all watercraft from leaving ports and docks starting on Monday at noon. Tourist boats in Hạ Long Bay must disembark passengers by 1 p.m. and island route boats should return to the mainland by 4 p.m. Boat captains and owners must maintain communication and take safety measures. The circulation of Typhoon number 2 will cause widespread heavy rain in the northern region and Thanh Hóa starting Monday night, mainly in the northeastern region. And until Wednesday night, rainfall is expected to range from 100 to 200 millimeters, with some areas exceeding 300 millimeters. Now, in response to the severe damage caused by heavy rains and landslides in recent days, Hà Giang province has intensified efforts to inspect and support residents in relocating their homes from dangerous areas. Starting in July, Mèo Vạc district alone has allocated over $29,500 to support the relocation of 23 households from dangerous areas. Another $1,200 was granted to each relocated household. The relocation sites are at a safe distance from landslide-prone areas. Houses in these new locations are required to use tile or foam metal roofing, and the roofs must be secure to withstand strong winds and hail, and also be capable of collecting rainwater for domestic use. The brutal wars of the past left about 4.8 million Vietnamese people exposed to toxic chemicals. Among them, about 3 million are victims of Agent Orange. Their descendants still suffer from the severe consequences of this toxic chemical. Over the years, many veterans have upheld the qualities and traditions of Uncle Ho's soldiers by supporting comrades and their descendants who are victims of Agent Orange dioxin, helping them overcome unbearable pain and disadvantages.
After returning from the Phie's battlefield in Quảng Trị, veteran Nguyen did not know he had been exposed to Agent Orange. It was only when his first daughter became disabled that he understood the lingering pain caused by Agent Orange after the war. However, he also decided not to be pessimistic or surrender to an ill fate.
I still consider myself extremely lucky. I'm grateful to my teammates and will always try to overcome fate.
Ding taught his daughter to sew. His comrades and teammates sometimes help him connect with customers. They handle legal procedures and help his daughter open this garment shop.
We help them find jobs. We have built charity houses, centers for medical examination and treatment, and detoxification. We also build social protection centers for those in need.
The party and state always pays special attention to victims of Agent Orange. The Vietnam Association of Victims of Agent Orange, dioxin, mostly composed of veterans, has raised millions of US dollars over the years to help veterans and their families overcome hardships caused by Agent Orange.
For charity purposes, 1,000 Vietnam dong is still valuable. The victims of Agent Orange are in dire need of help. Uncle Ho's soldiers are always brave enough to overcome tough situations and support each other.
A young volunteer during the war, Tu herself became sick due to Agent Orange infection. Last year, she received this charity house from her teammates and benefactors. Even though life is still difficult, the camaraderie of Uncle Ho's soldiers, who love each other like siblings, has remained strong over the years.
History serves as a vital link connecting generations of Vietnamese, both at home and abroad, to their roots and homeland. For young overseas Vietnamese, studying their country's history not only enhances their understanding of their heritage, but also instills a profound love and pride for Vietnam.
Born in Nguyen and having lived in Hungary for 9 years, these young overseas Vietnamese were excited to visit President Ho Chi Minh's hometown for the first time to learn about the life of the great national leader.
The most surprising thing to me is that his mother passed away when he was young, and he grew up in challenging circumstances. Being Vietnamese and from the same hometown as President Ho Chi Minh makes me proud. I felt emotional while paying respects to him, and this will surely be a cherished memory.
This year's summer camp is the first time many young overseas Vietnamese are learning about their nation's historical stories, figures, and origins, previously only known from their parents or books.
Before my return to Vietnam, I immersed myself in stories and poems to reconnect with my homeland. This trip has deepened my understanding of Vietnam and my roots.
As a Vietnamese living abroad, I am eager to delve into Vietnam's rich history, which I believe every Vietnamese person should understand and appreciate.
During the summer camp, young overseas Vietnamese visited the Vietnamese heroic mothers and paid their respects at the Martyrs' Cemetery. These experiences deepened their understanding of the realities of war and the efforts involved in building, preserving, and developing the country.
It's really emotional to us. I already experienced the Nha Trang in Hải Dương of my people. I've never seen so many soldiers as is today. Is a very good experience for me to learn the culture and pay respect to the soldiers.
I've never done something like this, and I think it's I got a privilege to pay respect to the soldiers. Because of them, I think Vietnam is what it is right now, and why we have freedom, and they fought for us so hard, and they died for us. So I think we should pay respect to them as much as we could.
Returning to their homeland and delving into its history fills overseas Vietnamese youth with pride, emotion, and respect. These experiences deepen their love and attachment to their homeland.
Coming up next in our world news, U.S. President Joe Biden drops out of presidential race. And Bangladesh extends curfew to control protests. Now moving on to our world news, U.S. President Joe Biden has announced that he is suspending his re-election campaign in the race for the White House in the upcoming election. This is a turning point in the race for the Democratic Party. President Joe Biden made the announcement on social media while being treated for COVID-19 in his hometown of Delaware. He wrote, "And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term." The U.S. president also expressed his support for Kamala Harris to become the Democratic candidate at the Democratic Convention in August. The decision was made after increasing pressure from some Democratic representatives in both houses of Congress asking Biden to withdraw. Meanwhile, former President Obama and former House Speaker Pelosi asked President Biden to re-evaluate his election efforts. Bangladesh Supreme Court has scrapped most government job quotas that sparked violent student protests that left at least 114 people dead. The decision will open 93% of government jobs to qualified candidates without quotas, a move that is expected to help quell the protests. Protests have erupted across the South Asian country after students were upset about the government's quota system. The protests come amid high youth unemployment, which stands at nearly 20% of the population. Authorities have imposed curfews and deployed troops across the country to stem the unrest. Cuban Prime Minister Manuel Marrero has presented to the National Assembly a plan of measures to adjust and re-energize the economy. Prime Minister Marrero highlighted the need to partially dollarize the economy to ensure the recovery of the value of the national currency, the peso. The Cuban government has approved the implementation of a new mechanism for the management and allocation of foreign exchange, as well as the implementation of all internal transactions in the economy in pesos. The Cuban government affirms that it has no intention of closing up private enterprises, but only of restoring order and discipline to reorganize the economy. The promotion of enterprises related to food production and new projects in various sectors continues. Foreign investment is recognized as a fundamental component of socio-economic development. In India, many young people are flocking to civil service exam preparation centers in the hope of being recruited for government jobs. The trend of high-pressure exams coupled with increasing demand for jobs partly reflects the challenges facing the Indian economy, especially in the labor market.
The image of student jostling in a cram school for civil service exam has become familiar to many Indians. These students are doing their best to secure a job in the country's civil service.
As the population increases, the number of job applications has also increased. Recently, about 5 million students applied for the police force at Uttar Pradesh. The quota is very limited, but the number of people wanting to work here is very high. That has never happened before.
Analysts say that although India has the fastest growing economy in the world, the job market in this country is still very volatile. Many people still find it very difficult to find a suitable job, secure income, and even more difficult to ensure that job is stable.
I want a job in a government agency because I'm not forced to meet work quotas like in the private sector, where salaries are often paid late. If I work for the government, I will be paid on time and there will be less pressure.
According to Indian government data, 220 million people applied for government jobs between 2014 and 2022, of which 722,000 were selected. Despite the high gap, 10 of millions of young Indians still pursue government jobs every year, despite the South Asian nation's booming economy and expanding private sector.
Now let's move on to the weather forecast. That is all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app at VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching and see you next time.